What if I told you that most people who think they're ready for advanced spiritual work are actually setting themselves up for spiritual crisis, energetic overwhelm, and even psychological breakdown? What if the difference between spiritual awakening and spiritual emergency isn't your level of desire or dedication, but specific signs that indicate your consciousness is prepared for the intensity of advanced practice? In the next 30 minutes, I will reveal the exact markers that ancient mystery schools used to determine when an initiate was ready for the most profound teachings. Signs that could mean the difference between transformation and catastrophe. This isn't about spiritual gatekeeping. This is about spiritual safety and ensuring that you're prepared to handle the power you're about to unleash when you step into advanced work. The hidden dangers of premature advancement. Before exploring the signs of readiness, we must understand why this matters so much. Advanced spiritual work isn't just meditation and positive thinking. It's the deliberate activation of consciousness abilities that can fundamentally alter your perception of reality, energy field, and even brain chemistry. Throughout history, mystery schools and spiritual traditions have maintained strict protocols for advancement not out of elitism, but out of necessity. They understood that consciousness technologies, and that's what advanced spiritual practices are, can be as dangerous as they are powerful when misused or applied prematurely. Several catastrophic scenarios can unfold when someone attempts advanced practices before they're ready. Spiritual emergence can become a spiritual emergency, where rapid consciousness expansion creates psychological instability, panic attacks, and disconnection from consensus reality. Energy practices can overload unprepared nervous systems, causing chronic fatigue, anxiety, and even physical illness. Psychic abilities can activate without proper grounding, leading to unwanted experiences, energetic vulnerability, and loss of discernment between internal experiences and external reality. The ancient masters weren't being cruel when they required years of preparation before sharing their deepest secrets. They were protecting both the individual and the integrity of the teachings themselves. A person who rushes into advanced works often experiences backlash that damages their spiritual development and can create a lifelong aversion to authentic spiritual practice. The foundation prerequisites. Actual readiness for advanced spiritual work isn't measured by how many books you've read, workshops you've attended, or how desperately you want to advance. It's measured by specific foundational qualities that indicate your consciousness is prepared for expansion without catastrophe. The ancient traditions identified these prerequisites through thousands of years of careful observation. They noticed that certain students naturally progressed to advanced levels, while others, despite equal enthusiasm and effort, encountered obstacles or dangers. Through this observation, they developed precise criteria for advancement that protected students while ensuring the preservation of genuine spiritual technology. Modern psychology and neuroscience have validated many of these ancient insights. We now understand that consciousness expansion requires specific neurological stability, emotional regulation capabilities, and cognitive flexibility. These aren't arbitrary requirements. Biological and psychological necessities for safely navigating expanded states of consciousness. The 12 signs of advanced readiness. Based on the consensus of ancient traditions and validated by modern understanding of consciousness development, 12 primary signs indicate genuine readiness for advanced spiritual work. Sign 1. Emotional sovereignty. The first and most fundamental sign is what the ancients called emotional sovereignty. The ability to maintain emotional stability regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb or suppressing feelings. It means developing the capacity to feel emotions fully while keeping your center and making conscious choices about responding. Emotionally sovereign individuals can experience anger without being controlled by it, feel fear without being paralyzed by it, and navigate grief without being consumed by it. They understand that emotions are energy in motion, not permanent states or accurate reflections of reality. They've learned to deal with difficult emotions without immediately trying to escape, fix, or project them onto others. This capacity is crucial for advanced work because expanded consciousness often involves experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion with amplified intensity. If you can't handle your current emotional range, you're not ready for the intensified emotional experiences that come with advanced practice. You know you've achieved emotional sovereignty when criticism doesn't destabilize you for days, when other people's moods don't automatically become your moods, and when you can remain centered even during significant life transitions or crises. Sign 2. Mental discernment. The second sign involves the development of precise mental discernment, the ability to distinguish between different types of thoughts, cognitive phenomena, and sources of information. Advanced spiritual work involves navigating realms of consciousness where the usual logic and linear thinking rules don't apply. Without refined discernment, practitioners can become lost in mental constructs, spiritual fantasies, or delusional thinking. Mental discernment includes recognizing when thoughts arise from your mind versus when they come from deeper sources of wisdom. It involves distinguishing between intuitive insights and wishful thinking, between genuine spiritual experiences and psychological projections, and between helpful guidance and mental chatter. Practitioners with developed discernment can observe their thinking processes objectively. They notice when their mind is creating stories, when it's operating from fear-based programming, and when it's accessing genuine insight. They've learned to use thinking as a tool rather than being used by their thoughts. You demonstrate mental discernment when you can question your own beliefs without feeling threatened, hold multiple perspectives simultaneously, and recognize the difference between knowing something intellectually and understanding it experientially. Sign 3. Energetic sensitivity and stability. The third sign involves developed energetic sensitivity combined with energetic stability. This means you can perceive subtle energies, your energy field, other people's energy, environmental energy, while maintaining your energetic integrity regardless of your encounter. Many people develop energetic sensitivity without developing stability, which creates problems. They can feel everyone's emotions, sense energy in rooms, and pick up on subtle influences, but they have no protection or boundaries. They become energetic sponges, absorbing whatever energy they encounter without the ability to filter or transform it. Actual energetic readiness requires both sensitivity and sovereignty. You can feel subtle energies, but you're not overwhelmed by them. You can sense other people's emotional states without taking them on as your own. You can enter different environments without being destabilized by their energy. Advanced spiritual work often involves working with powerful energies, healing energies, manifestation energies, and transcendent energies. If you can't maintain your stability around ordinary human energies, you're not ready for the intensified energetic experiences of advanced practice. You know you have energetic stability when you can remain centered in crowded places, help others without becoming drained, and consciously adjust your energy to match different situations while maintaining your core essence. Sign 4. Surrender and non-attachment. The fourth sign is the development of genuine surrender and non-attachment, not as philosophical concepts, but as lived experiences. This involves the ability to hold your goals, desires, and even your spiritual progress lightly without grasping or forcing outcomes. True surrender isn't passive resignation or spiritual bypassing. It's an active collaboration with the intelligence of life itself. It means doing your part while releasing attachments to specific results. It means wanting things without needing them and working toward goals without being defined by achieving them. Non-attachment extends to your spiritual identity and experiences. You can have profound spiritual experiences without using them to inflate your ego or create a special spiritual identity. You can receive insights and abilities without becoming attached to them as permanent possessions. This capacity is essential for advanced work because the most profound spiritual experiences often require letting go of everything you think you know about yourself and reality. If you're too attached to your current identity, beliefs, or level of attainment, you can't surrender to the unknown territories that advanced practice reveals. You demonstrate surrender and non-attachment when you can receive feedback without becoming defensive. Release relationships that no longer serve without bitterness, and lose things you care about while maintaining your peace and trust in life's intelligence. Sign 5. Integrated shadow work. The fifth sign involves substantial progress in what psychologist Carl Jung called shadow work. The conscious integration of your personality's denied, rejected, or unconscious aspects. Advanced spiritual work inevitably brings practitioners face to face with their shadow material. The encounter can be overwhelming or dangerous if this work hasn't been done in a stable, grounded way. Shadow integration doesn't mean you've eliminated all negative traits or achieved perfection. It means you've acknowledged and made peace with your full humanity, your selfishness, anger, fears, and petty desires. You've learned to own these aspects of yourself without being controlled by them and without projecting them onto others. Integrated shadow work also involves recognizing and reclaiming positive qualities you've disowned. Your power, intelligence, creativity, and beauty. Many people reject their positive qualities as much as their negative ones, creating an imbalance that manifests as false humility, self-sabotage, or inability to receive abundance. Advanced practitioners often develop significant power and influence. If shadow integration is incomplete, this power can be misused unconsciously. The history of spirituality is filled with teachers and leaders who achieved genuine attainment, but caused harm because they hadn't integrated their shadow material. You know you've made substantial progress in shadow work when you can acknowledge your mistakes without shame, spiral your accomplishments without false modesty, and see the full spectrum of human nature in yourself and others with compassion rather than judgment. Sign 6. Service orientation. The sixth sign is the natural emergence of what the traditions call service orientation, a genuine desire to contribute to the well-being of others and the world, not as a should or obligation, but as a natural expression of expanded consciousness. This service orientation isn't about becoming a people pleaser or sacrificing yourself for others. It's about recognizing that individual and collective consciousness are interconnected, and that your spiritual development naturally benefits the whole, while the evolution of the entire supports your journey. Actual service orientation means your spiritual practice isn't just about personal attainment, comfort, or escape from difficulty. You understand that genuine spiritual development includes developing the capacity to be helpful to others and the world. Your spiritual abilities become tools for contribution rather than just personal enhancement. Advanced spiritual practices often involve working with energies and consciousness states that affect the individual practitioner and the collective field. If your motivation is purely personal, you're not ready for practices that have collective implications. You demonstrate service orientation when you naturally look for ways to use your gifts to help others, when you feel genuine joy in others' success and happiness, and when your spiritual practice makes you more available and helpful to the people in your life rather than more self-absorbed or disconnected. Sign 7. Comfort with the unknown and paradox. The 7th sign involves developing genuine comfort with the unknown, the mysterious, and the paradoxical. Advanced spiritual territory doesn't follow the rules of ordinary logic. Experiences become paradoxical. You can feel simultaneously individual and universal, empty and full, human and divine. Linear thinking becomes inadequate for navigating these realms. Many people are attracted to spirituality because they want answers, certainty, and control over their experience. However, advanced practice often involves releasing the need to understand everything intellectually and learning to navigate by feeling, intuition, and direct knowing rather than mental comprehension. Comfort with paradox means you can simultaneously hold contradictory truths without resolving them into a coherent explanation. You can be human and divine, individual and universal, limited and limitless. You've learned to trust experiences that don't make sense to your rational mind. This capacity is essential because advanced practices often involve consciousness states that are inherently paradoxical and beyond ordinary logic. If you need everything to make sense mentally, you'll resist or misinterpret these states, limiting your ability to receive their gifts. You know you're comfortable with the unknown when you can admit, "I don't know," without feeling diminished. When you can have experiences you can't explain without needing to categorize them immediately. And when you can embrace mystery as an essential aspect of existence rather than a problem to be solved. Sign 8. Consistent daily practice. The 8th sign is establishing a consistent daily spiritual practice that you maintain regardless of external circumstances. This isn't about perfection or rigid schedules. It's about developing the discipline and commitment that sustain long-term spiritual development. Consistent practice demonstrates several essential qualities. The ability to prioritize your spiritual development even when life gets busy. The understanding that transformation happens through regular, sustained effort rather than sporadic, intense experiences. And the maturity to practice even when you don't feel like it. Advanced spiritual work often involves periods where progress isn't apparent, or the practices become challenging. Only practitioners with the capacity for consistent engagement can navigate these phases successfully. Those who practice only when they feel inspired or when it's convenient often give up when the fundamental transformation begins. Daily practice also develops what the traditions call spiritual stamina, the ability to sustain focused attention, energetic coherence, and consciousness states for extended periods. This stamina is essential for advanced practices requiring hours of sustained focus or weeks of intensive training. You demonstrate practice consistency when you maintain your spiritual routines during busy periods, when you can practice even when you're not feeling particularly spiritual, and when your practice has become as natural and non-negotiable as eating or sleeping. Sign 9. Healthy relationship patterns. The 9th sign involves the development of healthy, conscious relationship patterns. Advanced spiritual work doesn't happen in isolation. It requires the ability to maintain authentic boundaries and supportive relationships with others who are also engaged in conscious development. Healthy relationship patterns include the ability to communicate directly and honestly, to maintain appropriate boundaries, to give and receive support, and to navigate conflict constructively. You've learned to be intimate without losing yourself, independent without becoming isolated, and contribute to relationships without sacrificing authenticity. Many people use spirituality to avoid the challenges of human relationships, preferring the seeming simplicity of solo practice to the complexity of conscious relating. However, advanced work often requires community support, mentorship relationships, and the mirror others provide for seeing your patterns. Unhealthy relationship patterns, codependency, manipulation, emotional volatility, inability to maintain boundaries, create energetic disturbances that make advanced practice unstable or dangerous. The consciousness states accessed through advanced work can amplify existing relationship patterns, making healthy patterns more beautiful and dysfunctional patterns more destructive. You demonstrate healthy relationship patterns when you can maintain close relationships without losing your individuality, give honest feedback and receive it gracefully, and when your spiritual practice enhances rather than detracts from your ability to love and connect with others. Sign 10. Integration of spiritual experiences. The 10th sign involves integrating spiritual experiences into ordinary life in practical, grounded ways. Many people have profound spiritual experiences, states of unity, mystical visions, energy activations, psychic openings. But they don't know how to integrate these experiences to improve their daily lives and relationships. Integration means having transcendent experiences while remaining functionally grounded in ordinary reality. You don't use spiritual experiences to escape from practical responsibilities or to create a special identity that separates you from others. Instead, you allow these experiences to inform and enhance your engagement with ordinary life. Successful integration also involves communicating about spiritual experiences in ways that are helpful to others without being preachy, grandiose, or disconnected from practical reality. You can share your insights and experiences as gifts rather than using them to establish spiritual superiority. Advanced practices often generate powerful experiences and insights. If you can't integrate what you're already receiving, you're not ready for the amplified experiences that advanced work provides. Unintegrated spiritual experiences can create spiritual inflation, disconnection from others, and an inability to function effectively in ordinary reality. You demonstrate integration when your spiritual experiences make you more effective and compassionate in your daily life, when you can talk about profound experiences without needing to convince others of their validity, and when your spirituality enhances rather than replaces your engagement with practical concerns. Sign 11. Financial and material stability. The 11th sign, often overlooked in spiritual communities, is the achievement of basic financial and material stability. This doesn't mean you need to be wealthy, but you must have developed the capacity to meet your basic needs and manage material resources responsibly and consistently. Material stability demonstrates several essential qualities: the ability to function effectively in the practical world, the discipline to manage resources wisely, and the integration of spiritual and material dimensions of life. It also provides the foundation of security that allows you to take the risks that advanced spiritual work sometimes requires. Many people use spirituality to avoid dealing with material reality, believing spiritual development means transcending practical concerns. However, advanced traditions understood that spiritual power without material groundedness can become unstable or delusional. The most advanced practitioners were often highly effective in practical and spiritual matters. Financial instability can also create energetic disturbances, anxiety, desperation, dependency, that interfere with the clarity and stability required for advanced practice. While poverty isn't a spiritual disqualification, The chronic stress of financial insecurity makes advanced work more difficult and sometimes dangerous. You demonstrate material stability when you can support yourself without depending on others inappropriately, manage money without being controlled by financial anxiety, and understand material resources as tools for service rather than sources of identity or security. Sign 12. Humility and beginner's mind. The 12th and perhaps most important sign is the maintenance of genuine humility and what Zen Buddhism calls beginner's mind. The ability to approach spiritual learning with openness, curiosity, and willingness to be surprised, even after achieving significant development. True spiritual humility isn't self-deprecation or false modesty. It's the recognition that no matter how much you've learned or achieved, the mystery of existence remains vast and largely unknown. It's the understanding that spiritual development is an infinite journey rather than a destination to be reached. Beginner's mind means you remain teachable, curious, and open to perspectives that might challenge your current understanding. You can receive guidance from unexpected sources, sometimes from people with less formal spiritual training, but genuine wisdom earned through life experience. This quality is essential for advanced work because the territories you'll be entering are genuinely unknown, requiring fresh perception rather than reliance on previous knowledge. Students who become too identified with their spiritual achievements often stop learning and growing, becoming stagnant in their development. The most advanced masters throughout history have maintained a quality of wonder and openness that allowed them to continue receiving new insights and discoveries. They understood that true mastery includes the wisdom to remain forever a student. You demonstrate humility and a beginner's mind when you can acknowledge the limits of your current understanding without feeling diminished. When you remain curious about perspectives different from your own, and when your spiritual achievements make you more rather than less interested in continued learning. Having all 12 signs doesn't automatically qualify someone for advanced work. The final test is integration, the ability to demonstrate these qualities consistently, simultaneously, and under pressure. Many people can display individual signs in ideal conditions, but advanced readiness requires maintaining all these capacities, even during challenging periods. The integration test involves several scenarios. Maintaining your center during significant life transitions or crises, staying balanced when receiving criticism or praise, keeping your heart open when dealing with difficult people, and preserving your spiritual values when faced with material pressures or social disapproval. Advanced spiritual work will test every aspect of your development. The practices themselves create pressure that reveals any weak points in your foundation. Students who appear ready based on individual criteria sometimes discover gaps in their preparation when exposed to the intensity of advanced training. This is why authentic spiritual schools have always included challenging initiations and tests. These weren't arbitrary obstacles, but practical assessments designed to reveal whether a student's development was genuinely stable or superficial. False signs and spiritual bypassing. Understanding what doesn't indicate readiness for advanced work is equally important. Many commonly assumed signs represent spiritual bypassing or incomplete development. Having dramatic spiritual experiences doesn't indicate readiness if you can't integrate them practically. Accumulating spiritual knowledge doesn't prepare you if you haven't applied it to transform your character and relationships. Developing psychic abilities doesn't qualify you if you lack the emotional stability and ethical grounding to use them wisely. Spiritual bypassing, using spiritual concepts and practices to avoid dealing with psychological, emotional, or practical challenges, is particularly common among people attracted to advanced work. They want transcendent experiences and special abilities without doing the fundamental job of becoming mature, stable human beings. Other false indicators include spiritual pride disguised as humility, using spiritual language to avoid direct communication, believing yourself to be more advanced than you are, and expecting advanced practices to solve problems that require practical action or psychological work. The Readiness Assessment. If you're ready for advanced spiritual work, conduct an honest assessment using these 12 signs. Rate yourself realistically on each criterion, perhaps asking trusted friends or mentors for feedback on areas where self-assessment is brutal. Remember that readiness isn't about perfection. These signs represent substantial development, not complete mastery. You don't need to score perfectly in every area, but you should have significant progress in all 12 dimensions and genuine mastery in at least half of them. Pay particular attention to areas where you strongly resist honest assessment. These areas often represent blind spots or incomplete development that could create problems in advanced practice. If your assessment reveals areas that need development, consider this valuable information rather than disappointing news. Knowing what to work on is far better than proceeding prematurely and encountering problems that could have been prevented. Preparing for advanced work. If your assessment reveals that you're not quite ready for advanced work, approach this as an opportunity rather than a setback. The preparatory phase of spiritual development is rich with its rewards and discoveries. Rushing through it means missing essential foundations that support everything that follows. Focus on developing the areas where you're weakest while continuing to strengthen your existing capacities. Work with qualified teachers who can guide your preparation and help you recognize when you've achieved sufficient stability for advancement. Remember that authentic spiritual development follows natural timing that can't be forced. Just as a plant has optimal seasons for different growth phases, consciousness development has its organic timing that must be respected for healthy progression. Use this preparatory time to deepen your understanding of the advanced work you're preparing for. Study the traditions that interest you, connect with communities of practitioners, and develop relationships with qualified teachers who can guide your eventual advancement. The responsibility of advanced practice. If your assessment indicates that you are ready for advanced spiritual work, understand that this readiness comes with significant responsibility. Advanced practices give you access to genuine power, the ability to influence consciousness, energy, and sometimes even physical reality in ways that can affect others and the collective field. This power must be exercised with wisdom, humility, and dedication to the highest good. The traditions that preserved these practices understood that they were not just personal development tools, but technologies that could influence the evolution of consciousness itself. Advanced practitioners become holders and transmitters of spiritual energy and knowledge. Your development affects not just your own life, but the lives of everyone you encounter. Your clarity or confusion, integrity or corruption, love or fear, create ripples that extend far beyond your sphere. This is why the preparatory requirements are so extensive. Advanced spiritual work requires people who can handle power responsibly, who can maintain their humanity while accessing transcendent states, and who can serve the evolution of consciousness rather than just their desires. The path forward. Whether you're ready for advanced work or need further preparation, the path forward involves continued dedication to authentic spiritual development. This means maintaining daily spiritual capacity building practices, working on character development and psychological healing, and staying connected to qualified teachers and supportive communities. Remember that spiritual development is not a race or competition. Each person's timing is unique, and comparing your progress to others only creates suffering and spiritual inflation. Your job is to be completely honest about your current development level and take the next appropriate step, whatever that might be. The most important understanding is that authentic spiritual work, whether beginning, intermediate, or advanced, is always about becoming more fully human while opening to what transcends humanity. It's about developing the capacity to love more deeply, serve more effectively, and remain in the mystery of existence with wonder and gratitude. Your spiritual assessment begins now. The information you've received today isn't just theoretical knowledge. It's a practical assessment tool that can guide your spiritual development for years. Use these 12 signs as a roadmap for your continued growth, regardless of your current level. If you discover you're ready for advanced work, approach it with the humility and respect it deserves. If you need more preparation, embrace that phase of your journey with equal enthusiasm. The preparation and the advanced work are sacred aspects of the infinite journey of consciousness development. Most importantly, remember that the goal of all spiritual work, preparatory or advanced, is not to become someone special or separate, but to realize the extraordinary nature of ordinary human consciousness and express that realization through a life of love, service, and authentic presence. The universe is supporting your development in perfect timing. Trust the process, do your part, and allow your spiritual journey to unfold with the natural intelligence that governs all growth and evolution. If this exploration of advanced spiritual readiness has clarified your development, if you're feeling that spark of recognition about where you are on the path, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This channel is dedicated to authentic spiritual development, honoring transcendence and the depths of human experience. Like this video if it's helped you understand the requirements for safe, effective spiritual advancement. And in the comments below, share your reflection. Which of these 12 signs do you feel strongest in? Which areas do you recognize need development? What questions about preparing for or engaging in advanced spiritual work? Next time, we're diving deep into the specific practices that develop each of these 12 capacities. You won't want to miss. Scientists finally discovered how your brain manifests reality. This changes everything. Remember, spiritual development is not about reaching some final destination. It's about becoming increasingly capable of love, service, and presence in each moment. Whether you're a beginner or ready for advanced work, you are precisely where you need to be for your next level of growth. The path is calling you forward. The question is, are you ready to answer with complete honesty, authentic dedication, and genuine love for the journey itself? Until next time, assess honestly, develop patiently, and remember, you are walking a path that has been traveled by countless souls throughout history, each contributing their unique gifts to the evolution of consciousness.